Welcome to the Great Basin Fire Potential Briefing for Thursday, August 1st. Over the next few days, we will have heat building into the Great Basin, especially going into Friday and possibly Saturday, with well above normal temperatures in the area over the northern half of the Great Basin. Some areas in Idaho will see near record heat. Also, plenty of smoke from fires in California and Oregon moving into the Great Basin, along with fires we have going on within the Great Basin, especially across northern Nevada up into Idaho and northern Utah. Also, the next change over the next few days will be a return of moisture from the south. We could see a few buildups or isolated thunderstorms in the Spring Mountains down in southern Nevada today, but tomorrow is really the bigger push of moisture where we'll see an increase in lightning over parts of southern and far western areas of the Great Basin, and then eventually this moisture will spread north up into Idaho and cover much of Nevada and into Utah by Saturday. These thunderstorms will be a mix of wet and dry and will obviously be following very hot conditions, so certainly could see fire potential pick up as these thunderstorms move through. Over the last 24 hours, no thunderstorms or precipitation for the Great Basin. And we did have some new fires across the Great Basin in red here on the map. A couple of larger fires up in Idaho emerged, and then we continue to have our large fire activity. Over the last 7 to 14 days, the only precipitation really that's been near or above normal has been over parts of northeast Nevada into southern Idaho and northwest Utah. Otherwise, drier conditions around the periphery of the Great Basin. ERC percentiles are highest in Utah, where we have had a lack in monsoon moisture, so we are seeing ERCs above the 80th to 90th percentile. Areas where we saw recent moisture, ERCs have come down, but will be on the rise with drier and hotter conditions going into the weekend. Some of our ERC charts in eastern Idaho, again, they have come down with recent moisture, but will be quickly on the rise as hotter conditions emerge. And then down in Utah, we will actually see some more moisture as we move into the next 7 days, especially going into next week. So some of those ERCs should finally start to come down. Looking at our satellite loop from this morning, you can see plenty of smoke across western and northern Nevada, up into southern Idaho and northern Utah. And then you can see the clouds in southern California and Arizona, indicating the moisture moving north. And again, that will continue spreading north over the next few days. Looking at our smoke impacts, again, plenty of smoke. This is a near surface smoke for the northern half of the Great Basin, and this will obviously continue on Friday and will fluctuate depending on the activity of fires to our west. However, we do expect fire activity to increase as the hotter and drier weather pushes in. So looking at later today, again, strong ridge, hotter temperatures, drier conditions, just the moisture in the far south possible today. No high risk, as any lightning, if it does develop, would be very isolated. Relative humidity in the single digits to low teens in many areas, and you can start to see that moisture pushing north. No concerns with winds today, very light conditions in most areas, which is definitely a change from the last few days. Temperatures will start peaking above 100 degrees here in western and northern areas of the Great Basin, and you can see from the thunderstorm potential, again, most of that is still to our south, but could see a few buildups in the far south. As we move into Friday is really when that moisture starts to push north, so better chances of lightning in western and southern Nevada and southern Utah and parts of the Arizona Strip. So we do have high risk for lightning. Some of this high risk may change in the coming days depending on how the lightning materializes, but definitely expecting that push to the north on Friday with a mix of wet and dry storms. And you can see the relative humidity as that moisture moves north does start to moderate over southern and western areas, but there will be a sharp contrast between where the moisture is and where we see single-digit RHs. So our large fires in Idaho will see a significant drop in relative humidity. Looking at the wind gusts, the only wind gusts really will be associated with gusty outflow winds, and due to the dry nature of some of the areas, that's really where we could see a better chance of gusty outflow winds will be in western areas of the Great Basin before that moisture from the south moves north. Temperatures peak on Friday up in Idaho. Could see a high of 106 in Boise, which would be near records for the time of year. Otherwise, just hotter temperatures in northern Nevada and Utah. And definitely some cooling as that moisture moves in from the south, so you can see where that thunderstorm potential is on Friday. As we move into Saturday, that moisture really spreads north, so we have a larger area of high risk for thunderstorms over western and northern Nevada up into Idaho. It could creep up into central Idaho as early as Saturday, so we'll be monitoring that. But obviously our neighbors to the west have the same high risk for lightning. And then thunderstorms will be continuing in southern Nevada or southern Utah, but with that moisture in place, we could see a little bit of a moderation to fire danger. And on Saturday, you can see the higher humidities in the south as that moisture remains in place and still in the teens up north, but good chances of gusty outflow winds going into Saturday in Idaho and northern and western Nevada. On Saturday, temperatures still hot, but come down a few degrees as that moisture moves north, a little bit more cloud cover, possibly some thunderstorms, so only peaking just above 100 degrees for northern Utah into Idaho. And you can see the thunderstorm potential is much of Utah and then still northern Nevada up into Idaho. We'll have to see how the smoke plays a role in some of this thunderstorm development up north that can inhibit some of the instability and possibly some of the lightning coverage. 3-day precipitation, very spotty, so better chances in some of the higher terrain of the Sierra, possibly down into northern Arizona for some wetting rains, but otherwise very spotty precipitation. Going into Sunday, we do see some dryness trying to push into western sides of the Great Basin, but still plenty of moisture in place for thunderstorms to still develop in parts of Idaho and into Utah. And we'll still likely have thunderstorms continuing in southern Utah as well. And then similar conditions on Monday, still have some of that moisture in place for thunderstorms. We'll be watching this weak feature moving into the Pacific Northwest, could increase our winds in parts of western Nevada or up into Idaho. Still no high risk at this point. Some of the stronger winds on Monday still might be west into Northern California with their high risk, but we'll continue to monitor that. And then we still could see some breezy winds going into early next week. So we will continue to watch that, as that will obviously be on the heels of some hotter temperatures and a return of lightning. And Wednesday and Thursday, general similar conditions. We will continue to see some of that moderation to our fire potential over parts of Utah as that moisture remains in place. 7-day total precipitation, the only changes are in some of the higher terrain of northwest Arizona up into Utah, is where we could see that continuation of some showers and thunderstorms with possibly some better chances of wetting rains in the higher terrain. Otherwise, again, very spotty to the west, and once this lightning moves past, we will see some drier conditions on the western side of the basin. Otherwise, there is a hurricane that could be impacting Florida and the southeast, so definitely some significant moisture on that side of the country. Otherwise, the 8 to 14-day outlook still holding on to the same kind of hotter temperatures, but above normal precipitation. And right now, looking at the long-range models, I would probably tend to agree with some areas in Arizona or Utah saying that above normal signature towards the middle of the month, as the monsoon might be taking some better shape there. But anywhere from central western Nevada up into Idaho, be very suspect of this above normal moisture. It might still stay on the drier side. That concludes the webcast for today. Check back tomorrow for the latest updates.